Signing it live. You're live.
All right, we are back live on the Anik Florian podcast. Brian Petrie is going to join us here in a minute. And there's Big Gun Brian Petrie. So I'd like to apologize to Joshua Van, who I think spent a quarter of an hour trying to get on the show. So fuck. And to Mario Bautista, who is going to join us. We're having tremendous StreamYard issues today. So we are going to talk to Mario hopefully later this week. But a huge win for Mario, 8 in a row. And before we spin this forward to UFC Fight Night, BUCKLEY versus USMAN, Kenny, I would like to get some thoughts on Mario's performance, because what an absolute beast, right? Like right before the fight was going to begin, Mario Bautista had this look in his eye that was like, dude, I've been bottling this up all week and I am about to make a man pay for it. He got off to an outstanding start and Patchy Mix was frozen thereafter.
Yeah, I recognize that look, John. I've had it myself where you feel like you've been disrespected and everybody's talking about your opponent and that maybe they forgot how good you are. That's what it looked like for Mario Bautista heading into that fight against Patchy Mix. And you know, Patchy came in. He was the guy who was the former world champion in another organization. He was the guy with all the submissions and finishes and all that stuff. But didn't matter to Mario Bautista, who went out there and fought a perfect game plan. Patchy really wasn't able to get into any sort of rhythm. Bautista was just on point from the get-go, showed that he was clearly the better, faster striker. And, those shots to the body were nasty as well. I'm not sure I've seen as much activity to the body that I've seen from Mario Bautista. So he continues to get better, and that means he's going to be a bigger problem for everyone in that stacked bantamweight division.
Bri, a lot of handicappers and MMA bettors took an absolute bath in all of their bullishness on Patchy Mix, right? What were your thoughts on his performance and sort of his whole demeanor during fight week that was kind of a turn from some of the humility that I think a lot of his career has been rooted in?
Sure. Yeah, he was confident. And he was confident when I saw the embedded. He was confident in the grappling. He's like, look, you see how Batista's putting him against the cage? He's not going to do that against me. I'll submit him. I'll submit his coaches. I'm like, oh, this dude's going to take it to the ground. We're going to get some jiu-jitsu. He decided to stand. He really only went for one takedown. I'm not really sure what that was about. He kind of just maybe felt good on the feet. But when the first 3 minutes, when Bautista was laying that right hand, just right on the chin, and Patchy can take it, I went, oh, I'm losing this fight, because Bautista was dialed in. And then what I loved is he switched stances, and at first Patchy was getting the better of him, but then he started laying that straight left hand, big left hands. I'm like, oh, this dude's got it from both sides of the hands, and cardio for days, and then just wanted that win. And he was pissed that no one was talking about him, and then he didn't get an interview, and I don't know why Jersey was booing. That fight was electric to me. I love that fight. The crowd was amazing on night. Not sure why they booed that, but props to Mario Bautista. He looked phenomenal in that fight, bro. He looked really good.
And it dovetailed, the performance did, with everything he said in our fighter meeting, right? He's like, I'm more dynamic. I'm going to be switching stances, you know, like, he said, I can't get in that front headlock, and I can't let him get on my back one time in the fight, and it didn't happen. And Mario Bautista's won 8 in a row at 135 pounds, which is absolutely insane. Maybe he gets a main event, I don't know, but we were trying to put a whole lot of respect on his name by booking him on the show today. Technical difficulties prevented that initiative, but hopefully we'll talk to Super Mario later in the week. Hey, Bri, I talked to John Crouch about a nickname for Mario Bautista, or what can we do to sort of get this kid some shine, right? Sure. And I guess there was a moment you'd probably remember in one of his fights where maybe he stuffed a takedown and he did something that sort of resembled Super Mario, but some people really don't like that Super Mario Bautista nickname. Somebody said menacing Mario Bautista in the John Anik app chat, which I don't know. But I feel like the kid needs something, right? If you suggest that Sean O'Malley has it and Mario Bautista maybe doesn't necessarily have that quality that just naturally maybe resonates with people, is it a nickname? Do we need the right fight, a main event? What do we do for Super Mario to get this kid going? Because in the octagon, he's a fucking stud.
I tell you what, John, I'm not just saying this because, you came up with it. I love when a nickname's in front of the name, like Sugar Sean O'Malley. Super Mario. I mean, I grew up on the Mario Brothers. Why not? Menacing's a little too on the nose. Menacing, you might as well go get a fucking cage tattoo on your back, bro, right? Little too on the nose, but I like Super Mario a lot. And I just think people just need to, they're upset about the Aldo fight. They need to rewatch the Patchy Mix fight and realize like this kid's going to be fighting top elite guys and he's going to be winning as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he fights for the title early next year.
Kenny, you know what else he could do? He does that thing at the end of the fight, right? He matches up his arms with that battle-born tattoo because one arm says battle, the other says born because he's Nevada-born. How about throwing that on the fucking front end of your name? Battle-born Mario Bautista. What do we think? Battle-born?
I like that. I think we should put the damage tattoo on his chest. I don't know, just get right.
Well, that just there you go. Yeah,
and that same font. You could put anything in that font. That's gonna look phenomenal.
Badass, dude.
The Marauder, Mario Bautista.
Right.
Yeah.
Just call Darren Elkins. Get the name.
Dude, who is your tattoo artist?
Right. Who did that electric font on your chest, bro? Yeah. I'm telling you, the Battle-born Bautista's got a nice ring to it, and I think he would rather see a T-shirt of himself that said, like, Battle-born as opposed to Super Mario in the plumber's outfit. But, Mario, if you're listening, sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll talk to you later this week. Battle-born! Buffer fucking from the rooftops. All right, I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk about some other performances very quickly before we spin it forward. Joshua Van over Bruno Silva. Azamat Murzakanov over Brundage and Ribeiro, or Ju Song Yu, face planting, Jekka, Saragi, BP. You got 60 seconds or more. You can talk about anybody you like.
I mean, listen, I got it. As much as I love that knockout, that was one of the cleanest check hook knockouts I've ever seen. I got to talk about Joshua Van. This kid is 23. He came in the UFC with some hype. I've heard about him, and he's only getting better. He just tweeted he's got a fight signed already, like hopefully in Chicago where I'm there. But his boxing, his vision, his knowing when to pressure, when to pull out, like it's really fucking flawed. It's good. Almost perfect at a 23-year-old level, and he's starting to develop power. My complaint early in his career was he wasn't really noticing how to get guys out. He had a lot of guys hurt, but he let them off the hook. He's not letting people off the hook now. He's the real deal, and he really learned a lesson in that Charles Johnson fight where he took off the gas, slowed down a little bit, and then got clipped and got knocked out. I think this guy, sky's the limit as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, man. I was thoroughly impressed, and again, I'm driving the fan van on Joshua Van.
Yeah.
I like this kid a lot.
I don't know if I'm ever going to get a chance to say Joshua Van down by the river. By the way, I did for the beginning of the Q&A, Kenny. I walked out for the Q&A, and I'm a little bit unhinged, right? And one of my favorite rap songs of all time by Redman is called Jersey Yo. And it starts, once upon a time up in Jersey, yo, right? So I get out on the stage like a total lunatic. I'm about to intro Amanda Nunes and Corey Sandhagen. And I'm like, all right, I've always wanted to do this in a hot mic in New Jersey. The great Redman, of course, Newark, New Jersey's own. Once upon a time up in Jersey, yo. Complete fucking silence.
Oh, come on.
And so I was like, no. I was like, nobody. I was like, Red. One's like, one guy's like, yeah, Redman. I'm like, oh man, no one. I was like, I'm that old. All right. Now joining me on stage. Fuck, man, that did not go well. Ken Flo, Azamat Murzakanov, man. Azamat Murzakanov, right? Like, I don't know how many more wins he needs, but yeah, BP's been nodding his head because he's been talking about this guy for a while. Like, you know, this is what you're supposed to do when there's like minus 700 next to your name, and he just keeps doing it.
Oh, you mean Stone Hands? Yeah, the guy's an absolute beast, man. All these guys from that area, it's like they have that stoic approach where they're super quiet. They don't look like they're going to be that much of a threat. And this dude can throw hands with the best of them, man. Very explosive, very fast. He could wrestle his ass off. Dude's a problem, man. What a performance, man. I was really impressed and glad he was on my little parlay there.
All right, Brian, last thing from you before we get to the pronunciation of the week and spin this thing forward. So Ju Song Yu, right? So there are so many people who I would classify as MMA experts 10 times my knowledge, right? So sometimes I let too much noise in when I'm watching film and getting ready to call a fight. So I'm watching Ju Song Yu and Jekka Saragi. And yeah, Saragi hits like a truck, but I am reading a lot of sort of pre-fight predictions suggesting that Ju Song Yu is going to grapple. And I'm watching film, and he looks like a poor man's Mauricio fucking Rufy. And I'm thinking, like, is he gonna box? So, I mean, when you're watching film and you're getting ready for a fight, like, how convicted do you need to stay in your own opinions, and how much of that outside noise are you letting in?
I listen to everything after I'm done making my pick. So I listened to like 3 really good podcasts, and I really like this guys. That's after I've already done all my stuff, because I don't want to repeat. I want to have come original with my own reads and everything. But for that, yeah, I mean, you is a judo based guy. He's got some judo, he's got some wrestling, but he's also got some really good Conor McGregor-esque Marcia Hoofy style boxing with the long arms. He stays loose. So I figured he was going to box in this fight for sure. I did not obviously predict a knockout like he was, but he's smooth on the feet, man. He moves out of the way and he counters very well. And yeah, one of the best left hook knockouts I've ever seen him. It was, he used, Jaka's, his whole power was Jaka coming forward. And it was just a picture perfect check left hook, man. It was awesome. I jumped out of my seat. My kids felt like I saw a bug. I'm like freaking out, dude. It was awesome.
Somebody texted me, "You look disgusting on that announcer cam." I'm like, dude, I was surprised, right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about the camera in my face.
Yeah.
All right, congratulations to all the winners. Needless to say, a most memorable night at UFC 316 from MERAB, Dwalashvili, Kayla Harrison, and everybody else. And again, our apologies to Joshua Van and Mario Bautista for the technical difficulties today. All right, pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data. That won't slow you down. Kind of want BP to do this one.
Ooh, okay.
This man's still getting it done at 38 years of age, by the way, with his dad not too far off to the side. He's 8-4 in the UFC after a big upset of Peyton Talbot earlier this year at UFC 311. Born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Bri, we'll go to you first, and then we'll hear Ken Flo say it. But what's this guy's name?
Yeah, so Kenny's gonna nail this, but I believe it's Honi Barcelos, and you got to use the little extra tongue on the end of there. Honi Barcelos.
So, but why you don't have a lisp? Why you?
No, that's how you pronounce it in Portuguese, bro.
You have to inject a speech impediment into it?
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know. You're the linguist. I'm surprised you didn't know that, dude. That's crazy, John.
Kenny, how do you say that name?
See, now I'm like second guessing myself. Do I go Howney, or is it Howney Barcelos? Or you can say Barcelo.
I could listen to you all day, Kenny.
With the Rio accent. Barcelo.
Yeah, with that regionalism. Let's hear Howney say his name.
Howney Barcelos. Howney Barcelos.
So we do go with that surname regionalism with the Barcelos,
I like it.
We don't do Deutsch Anjos or Dos Anjos for Dos Anjos, but that's because that's not how he says it to tape. So we also, Bri.
Yeah.
Who's Joaquin Buckley fighting this weekend, Bri?
Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, so pretty good. So this was one we battled with early on because he really says Usman, like M-I-N. It's not Usman or, he says Usman. So we're going to rack that file for you as well because it is definitely M-I-N. Go ahead, Cody.
I'm Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare, Usman.
One more time slot.
And that's Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare, Usman.
For much of his career, Buffer would go, Kamaru! And then Kamaru was like, no, bro, my daughter's pissed.
Isn't his full name like Kamara Dean? Isn't that like his? Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah.
All right, time to make some selections. Time permitting, we might even get to some wagers and update the standings. Just kidding. Of course, we're going to get to that stuff. Light heavyweight division, main card opener, UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley live in Atlanta, Georgia. Umar C, minus 575, taking on Alonzo Manifield, plus 425. Bryce C, light heavyweight out of Paris, France, 11-0 after a win over Dawoon Jung last September. Also got Tuco Tuckus with a neck crank in his UFC debut last May. Schedule suggests pretty strong pre-UFC run as well. Now Jaws, the former Arena League football player and hardened UFC veteran Alonzo Manifield, who is set for his 16th UFC start. BP, take it away.
Yeah, this has been a tough one because the numbers I think are a little out of whack. I think C is a good up and coming guy. I think he's got some skills to his game. I think he's got some grappling. I think he's got some striking. He's a big, strong dude, but he's green, right? He's still green. The Dong Eun Jun fight was a big win for him. Dong Eun Jun's no punk, but Manifield, Zoe, as I call him, we're good friends. Zoe went out there and looked really good against Julius Walker and stopped a lot of takedowns and is now back in Texas. Went away, went Pat Barry for a while. Now he's back, and I think that's a big key to this. Manifield got knocked out twice and then got back on the track with Walker. And you were mentioning Azat Mirzakhanov. He had a 700 next to his name, and rightfully so, and he looked like that. C's got minus 575 next to his name. I don't know if he's going to look as a 575. I think this fight is closer on paper, closer than the line suggests. I think people are sleeping on Manifield because of maybe some lackluster takedown offense in the past, right? Jimmy Crute took him down 6 times. I'm riding with Zoe here. That's a big number at plus 425. I'm going to take the 4-1 guy, the more experienced guy, the guy who hits heavy as well. We'll see what happens. I'm willing to roll the dice on a 4-1 for sure.
Nicely handicapped as usual, Bry. Manifield, Ken Flo coming off a split win over Julius Walker in February, but that did come on the back end of back-to-back knockout losses to Carlos Ulberg and Azamat Mirzakhanov in 2024. He will be 38 in October. Perhaps that age factors into the line here. What do you make of light heavyweights, Ken Flo?
Yeah, it does for me. Umar C, he's only 29 years old, undefeated, but, only 2 fights in the UFC, undefeated in the UFC, of course. But, I do think he's still a little bit green. And as far as betting on Manifield, he could show up hot. He could show up cold. It's really difficult to know which Alonzo Manifield is going to show up. So I absolutely see the value in your guy Zoe there, Brian. But I'm going to go with C. I think I think he, his youth, I think his striking, I think his athleticism could get it done here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Manifield get the job done. Definitely some value, but I'm going to go with the Frenchman here.
All right, big number on this next one as well. Mansour Abdul Malik, minus 700, taking on Cody Brundage, plus 500 on the comeback. So the Eric Nixick trained Malik, biggest betting favorite on the card, BP. Price gets bigger every goddamn time I go into that DraftKings Sportsbook application, actually. He's 8-0 overall, trying to move to 3-0 in the UFC here with a win over Brundage. BP, your thoughts?
So everything I said about C being green and all that and more experience, take that breakdown out the window because I'm going with the green guy here. Malik is a well put together guy, right? When I walk the beach, when I strut the beach, in my head I look like Malik, but really it's Roy Nelson. You know what I mean? But no, this kid's really good. I love Eric Nixick's a good coach. He's a really good guy to be with from the beginning to, because the guy has a wealth of knowledge. He knows how to produce really top level fighters, especially in Vegas too. I mean, everyone comes in there and trains. Malik is only going to get better and better. His UFC record, he's 3-0 with 3 knockouts. They're not world beaters, the guys he beat, but he's done what he's supposed to do is knock him out. You got Cody Brundage, you can grapple a little bit, right? And he's got some hands, experience in UFC, but the weakness is his striking. The weakness is when the tough gets going. When he's not doing what he wants to do, he kind of falters a little bit. This is a huge number. How are you going to play this? You're going to go Malik by KO, which DraftKings will probably get us at minus 250. Then you're going to parlay that to something juicier. But yeah, I like Malik here. I'm all over this kid. I think he's powerful. I think he's too athletic. I think he's going to be really special if he keeps doing what he's doing. Yeah, I like Malik.
Cody Brundage, Ken Flo enters this competition after one of the bigger wins of his career came against his former teammate Julian Marquez, but he's 5-5 with a no contest in the UFC. So the winning percentage in the UFC is 50%. It's actually below that, I guess. He fought Bo Nickel at UFC 300 last year as well. So another big spot as massive underdog for Brundage. You think he has anything for Malik, Ken Flo?
Yeah, Cody's had some tough fights in the UFC. He's got another one here, though, against Sir Abdul Malik. And I think Malik is special. He's certainly gifted. And if he's putting in the work, which I think he is, and he's putting, he's surrounding himself with the right guys, with the right sparring partners, with the right coaches, I think this should be a pretty good win for him. I like him here a lot. I think he's one of those guys that, if you don't know about him, you should be watching and following him, because I do think he could do some big things in the middleweight division. So, I think this is a good fight for him. So give me Mansour Abdul Malik.
All right, next up on the main card in Atlanta this weekend, live on ESPN in the bantamweight division, Raoni Barcelos minus 162, Cody Garbrandt plus 136. Garbrandt, as many of you know, the former undisputed UFC bantamweight champion, just 9-6 overall in the UFC. He hasn't fought since a submission loss to Davison Figueiredo, Bry. That was at UFC 300 last April. Now he draws the also tested Barcelos, flying high, of course, after the Talbot win. He had a perfect 2-0 2024. Slightly favored here against Cody Garbrandt. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is scary for me, right? Because I'm a Cody guy, I'm an Ohio guy, right? And Barcelos, this guy, he, everyone keeps talking about his age, but he just went out there and dog walked Peyton Talbot, who was an undefeated fighter. I mean, he looked great. His wrestling is really good. His entries are really good. He's been clipped in the past. Umar got him a little bit ago, but he's fighting high level guys. Early in his career, we didn't see him enough. Now he's really ramping up. I like that. Cody's been away forever, but man, I can't get, it's like a girl that you had a summer fling with that you fucking can't get. It's been 10 years, get over it. I can't. Cody versus Dominic Cruz, one of the best performances I've ever seen. Round 1, Cody versus TJ Dillashaw won, one of the best performances I've ever seen. I need that guy back. That's who I need back. You know what I mean? He left. He's been in Vegas. He left alpha male, but he got exposed by Figgy on the ground. We never seen an alpha male guy like a guy like Cody get put on the ground. His scrambling was so good. He always got this. He got put down. He got choked out pretty easily. Barcelos can do that. But I'm down my mortgage in this game, so I need to start picking dogs. I'm gonna go my Ohio boy Cody Garbrandt. Hopefully he uses his footwork, his speed, clips Barcelos early, and we get it out of there. We get a dub. Give me Cody Garbrandt. Not super confident, but I'll take my guy.
Chem flow for Cody Garbrandt, just 3 wins in the 9 years since that win against Dominic Cruz. He is 3-5 over the last 8.5 years since defeating Dominic Cruz for the title in 2016. He is plus 136 this weekend against Rio's Raoni Barcelos.
Yeah, Brian, I agree with you, man. He went from one of the most brilliant
and Ken Flo's frozen
to one of the worst.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now, buddy. You were spinning for a second. Now fucking Bry's spinning, but I hear you now.
There we go. All right, there we go. Yeah, he went from one of the most brilliant performances against Dominic Cruz that you talked about, Brian, to one of the worst ones. And I think since then, his mind game has been off completely, and it's tough to know what Cody Garbrandt is going to show up as well. We were just talking about Manifield, but, for Cody, with all of that talent and all of that finishing ability, it's hard to know. But I think that if his wrestling is on point, if he did his homework there, if he did his homework striking, he comes in here mentally strong, I think he can win this fight, and I like him in this underdog spot as well. So give me Cody Garbrandt.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Middleweight division, Edmund Shabazian minus 192, Andre Petroski plus 160. So Petroski's won 3 in a row, Bry. Granted, all by unanimous decision, but he got past Adolfo Vieira back in February. Now probably facing the best striker, I would think, of this UFC run to date, the former ranked contender Edmund Shabazian. Bry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this line seemed off when I first looked at it. I said, why is Shabazian, who seems to kind of, when he gets these big fights, seem flat? But he's such a killer striker, and Petroski's been exposed. I mean, Malkoun knocked out, Petroski on the feet. Petroski is one of a specialist in the game. There's not many left. He likes to grapple. He makes no bones about it. He's a big, strong middleweight that likes to take you down, and Shabazian has been exposed on the ground as well, usually when he gets tired. But you look at the GM3 fight, Shabazian fucked up GM3, and GM3's just an old dog that don't quit, came back, got him once he was tired. I don't think Petroski can take those shots Edmund does. However, pulling a Anik Florian here, babe, I need dogs, and I need a guy that I think could win when he gets it to the ground. I think stylistically, if he can take this fight to the ground, if he doesn't play stand-up game, which I seriously doubt he will, because this guy is a pure grappler. Even outside the UFC, he does grappling events and everything. I think he can win this fight. I think he can take him. I think he can submit Shabazian. I think Shabazian is 56% takedown defense, isn't the best in the UFC. He's fought some decent wrestlers, but yeah, give me Petroski here, man. I got to take some dogs, and he's my guy.
Ken Flo, Edmund Shabazian minus 192, Andre Petroski plus 160. Who do you love?
So I think Shabazian, if he gets off to a good start and lands some big shots, I think he can knock out Petroski for sure. And Shabazian, has a tendency of starting out really well. It doesn't finish so well, though. And for Petroski, sometimes he falls in love with his striking a little bit and decides to get a little too comfortable on the feet. He's got to head into this fight knowing he's the better grappler and knowing Shabazian's history and being vulnerable on his back. So Petroski, if he can go in there, initiate his striking into some takedowns and clinches, I think Petroski can win this fight as well. So I like Petroski here.
All right, let's get to the co-main event, women's flyweight division. Did somebody in Miranda Maverick's lineage like change the last name to Maverick from something else, or is she just born Maverick and everybody? I mean, that's a cool family name, right?
Yeah, it is.
So she just adopted a baby girl and named her Renegade Maverick.
Ooh.
Whoa.
I mean, you want to talk about a power name? Her daughter's name is fucking Renegade Maverick.
That's a power.
Beautiful
That's
baby girl.
Redundancy.
That is. So co-main event, guys. Rose Namajunas minus 285. Renegade's mom Miranda is plus 230. Miranda Maverick still just 27. She's really found her footing since that tough loss to Jasmine Jasdavizius, 4 in a row, landing her in this co-main event with the future Hall of Famer Thug Rose. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, Maverick had a lot of hype coming to UFC. She was in that one night tournament, which she impressed everybody. Came in the UFC, kind of on fire, then stumbled a little bit, and hasn't really looked. I mean, she's winning fights, but she's not finishing fights. I think when she moved to Colorado, she really well rounded out her game. But as the competition gets tougher, I don't see a lot of finishes. She's well built for the division. Her takedowns are good. But then to Rose Namajunas, who it's hard to find a woman in MMA with a better resume than Rose. Right, Rose, a former champion, has fought everyone. Stumbled against Erin Blanchfield her last time out, which obviously Blanchfield has a similar game to Maverick. It really depends on, because they're different body types, really depends on what Rose learned from that. What kind of takedowns defense does she have? She only got taken down twice by Blanchfield, but she just wasn't active enough on the feet. I like that Rose, for a while there when she was champion and the whole buses and she might not have fought anymore. It's like, I might be done with the sport. Now she went up a weight and she's fighting often. And we're getting that Thug Rose back. We're getting the Amaral back. We're getting the tough, bad bitch back. And I like that. I think Maverick matches up well with her in the grappling, but I think it's going to come down to striking. I think Maverick likes to take people down off the cage. I think Rose is going to defend that really well. I think Rose is a good guard. I think Rose scrambles really well off her back as well when she needs to get up. I think Miranda Maverick, in the fights I've seen, she kind of loses some of those scrambles, just a little step behind. And I think to stand up, I think it's all Rose. I think she's clean. I think she hits hard. I like Rose here. I'm fine with the number. I'm fine putting this in any kind of parlay you want. I'm pretty bullish on Thug Rose for sure.
Ken Flo Thug Rose Namajunas turns 33 on June 29th. She did fight 3 times last year, went 2-1, lost the 5-rounder on the back end of the year, of course, against Erin Blanchfield. Now right back on the horse against a former training partner in Miranda Maverick. Who do you like?
If Rose is on top of her game, I think she can absolutely win this fight. She has the talent, she has the experience, and she has the skills both on the feet and on the ground to win it here. And I agree with Brian. Up against the cage, I think that's where Rose does her best, takedown defense. And the open mat and the open cage, that's where she can maybe struggle a little bit. I think that's where Miranda needs to kind of take this fight. Even with that, I think Miranda could still win this fight. I think that she can build off of what Blanchfield did in that last one. But she's going to have to stay busy. She's going to have to keep a lot of pressure on Rose Namajunas and really just get her out of her rhythm. If Namajunas gets in her rhythm, that's where Rose can really take over and build on her confidence and pick Maverick apart, especially on the feet. I think Rose is the better striker here. But Maverick has a ton of momentum. Rose 2-2 in the last 4 fights, Maverick 4-0 in the last 4 fights. So typically you see them kind of match up, records a little bit more appropriately here. But I like Maverick here. I think Maverick can get it done. It seems like they see some potential here that the UFC sees Maverick with a lot of potential here, and they think they can build up, someone who can maybe challenge for the belt in the future. So I'm going to go with Maverick here, as tough as that is. I'm a big fan of Rose, but I think maybe it's Maverick's time.
Valuable information on both sides as we get to the main event in the welterweight division. Joaquin Buckley, minus 265. The Nigerian Nightmare Kamaru Usman comes back plus 215. Bry has not won 3 in a row or 4 in a row or 5 in a row. 6 in a row for Numanza. 4-0 last year. Back-to-back stoppages of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Colby Covington to close out 2024. And now can set up a title shot if he can get past a, hopefully in his mind, resurgent returning Kamaru Usman. Who do you have in the main event, BP?
I love this fight. Atlanta, I mean, the entire Atlanta card's great. This is a great card for Atlanta this weekend. You know, my in-laws live there. If I wish I could pop down. Anyway, love this fight. I'm an Usman guy, right? I've defended Usman a lot. You know, there's a lot of chatter about him being this. I think he's the second greatest welterweight that's ever fought in the UFC, right? Right behind Georges St. Pierre. And I think he's a legit dude. I think, you know, 3 in a row losses. I thought he looked really spirited. And, you know, because, I mean, look at his losses. Let's just break it down, right? The Leon Edwards, he was winning, got head kicked. And the second fight was very close, majority decision loss. And the Chimaev fight, he didn't start fighting to the third round, majority decision loss. Time away, you know, but he's getting older. There's rumors about some bum knees, all this stuff. And enter Numansa, who is undefeated at 170 and has looked unreal. I'm all in on this guy. I love his mindset. He talks a lot, but he backs it up. He wants to fight. He wants to get better. He's traveling the United States to get better. Spent time with Craig Jones down at the B team to get better with his jiu-jitsu, get better off top. His wrestling has looked really good. He wrestled really well against Nursultan Rozaboyev. You know, that was a great, really good defining win for a guy who's 6'8" in that division, right, at 170. Buckley is the more explosive, more potent striker, and Usman just knows how to win. He knows how to grind. He knows how to do it. He's mentally strong. He's a guy that doesn't really lose a lot, right? You know, he's not used to it, even though there's 3 in a row. And it's hard for me to imagine there's going to be 4 red stripes on his record. Kamaru Usman, 4 in a row. What are we doing? But I think that's what's going to happen. I think Numansa is too much. I think he's too strong. He's coming off 2 third-round knockouts. So that proves to me this guy in the Steve Wonderboy fight, it was competitive. He was getting shots. Like, he was taking shots. He came back, knocked him out. He was all over Colby Covington the entire time. This guy with the big muscles, with cutting to 170, still has cardio, explosive in the third round. I think that speaks volumes. I think Kamaru Usman is hittable. He does get hit a lot, especially in the exchanges. I think the wrestling is going to wash each other out. I'm all over Numansa here, man. I think this guy's going to be really interesting to watch here at 170.
Yeah, Kenny, of all the top welterweight contenders in terms of natural power in both hands and feet, Joaquin Buckley would seem to have the most of it. He just turned 31 in April, debuted during the global pandemic, got stopped by Kevin Holland, and then memorably 2 months later, that knockout of Impa Kasanganay, one of the top 5 knockouts in UFC history. Yeah. But now big things, trying to really assert himself with a win over the former champion, Kamaru Usman. How do you see the main event going down, kid?
This is a tough one for me. I think that Buckley, you look at his pedigree, the last 4 fights where he's 4-0, Colby, Wonderboy, Ruzaboyev, Luque, these are really tough guys. And Buckley's looking fantastic and has a ton of momentum heading into this fight against Usman, who also has had some, tough competition, as Brian was talking about. But he's 1-3, and it's hard to know where Usman is at in his career. Is this a guy who is, fighting just to stay busy? What has he been doing as far as staying active over the last year or so? It's hard to tell. With Buckley, we know exactly where his head is at. He wants to fight. He wants the belt. He's looking better and better. I think he has a lot of momentum heading into this fight. So while I'm going to pick Buckley here, I think Usman does have a shot here. Why do I keep saying Usman, by the way? We just said Usman. So I think that Usman is definitely going to be I think there's a lot of value for Kamaru, but give me Buckley.
Fascinating main event in Atlanta, Georgia, and our good friend, the greatest living American, Brian Stan, will be in the building to witness it all. All right, time now to place your bets. Brought to you by KennyFlorian.com and JohnAnik.com, where you can get 15% off your Anik and Florian podcast or One More Sleep merchandise order with promo code One More Sleep. All right. I'm not saying you got to wave the white flag, Brian.
No, I'm not.
But I think some 3-leg parlays for $1,000 might be useful if we're really trying to win this thing. Now, it's one thing if you're trying to make the listenership money, but if you're trying to beat Ken Flo, which is the goal, we might have to start taking some chances. Here are these statistics. You put your $3,000 stack on Patchy Mix.
Did I?
Drops you to minus $11,819.96 on the year. And unfortunately for you, I guess, Florian continued his torrid 2025. $1,000 for Ken Flo straight on Kevin Holland, that page at 420, interestingly enough. And then the $2,000 3-leg parlay on Mirzakhanov, Pfeiffer, and Harrison came in as well, that page at 1440. So plus 1860 and change for Ken Flo on the week. The Team Florian lead after a week north of $4,200 for Ken Flo. The lead is now $16,000 or so. Brian, you have $1,000 to spend.
Sure do.
You can do it.
What do you have for us, Brian, on UFC Fight Night, Buckley v. Usman?
So listen, my 3K bets this year were Steele. He didn't grapple. Mix thought he was going to grapple, didn't grapple. Right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the well with a guy that I think needs to grapple to win because I don't learn my lesson. I'm stupid. Give me $1,000 on Petroski. I need to take dogs. I need to, you know what I mean? I was going to parlay him with Cody. I was going to do maybe another parlay. I'm a straight wager guy. I don't think we're at the parlay portion of this yet. Give me $1,000 on Petroski, maybe almost double my money, and that way we can start moving from there. I just need a W, right? Let's go, Petroski. Yeah. Let's grapple, babe. Let's grapple a little bit, babe. All right. Need it.
Kenny, you are at $4,202.80 to the positive for the year. How are you spending your $1,000 this weekend?
Oh, I'm gonna go with $750 on Cody Garbrandt. And then I'm going to put $250 on the mother of Renegade Rebel Maverick.
Oh, shit.
So Ken Flo, a couple of dogs.
Love it, man.
Cody Garbrandt and Miranda Maverick. If you want more from Brian Petrie, at Brian Petrie MMA, host of the MMA Takes podcast. Looking good. Little sun splash today, brother. We appreciate your time. And we will talk to you next Monday, if not sooner, bro.
See ya, boys. I'll see ya.
There's the great chief handicapper, Brian Petrie. And we got to bounce on out of here, but not before thanking the undisputed UFC bantamweight champion, MERAB Dvalishvili, for joining us. Also, thanks to Ray Longo. Thanks to Mario Bautista and Joshua Van for trying to get in here. Weren't allowed in the room. Our sincere apologies. That's going to eat away at me all day, but hopefully we'll talk to those gentlemen later in the week and bring you some more bonus content for UFC 316. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow. Ken Flo, best of luck. I can't wait to see you next week. Safe travels home. Thanks for powering through the international Wi-Fi, and we will talk to everybody either later this week or on Monday, and we'll see if New Man's Joaquin Buckley has indeed made it 7 wins in a row. Thank you all for watching live, if that applies. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. We'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, be well, be safe. Yo, later.
I love this shit.